Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment. Visionaries Global Media, envisioning excellence on a global scale.
This is Banned from Ringside.
Tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast, we're going to take a sneak peek into Index's first date. We're going to jump over to AEW and see if Wardlow can stop the role of Chris Jericho. NXT, once again, with another round of future endeavors. Raw and SmackDown building towards a SummerSlam pay-per-view. And we're going to get a little Bill Vagey coming in later on in a few seconds this week on the Banned from Ringside podcast. Bill, you need to hurry up and come back. I'm already getting sick of being the host 3 times. That 9 to 5 is time to feel live. Hello, Marks, and welcome to another edition of the Banned from Ringside podcast. I am your host, special guest host, Jason Cornelius Bell, a.k.a. Hand Opry. There you go. See, I'm already sick of doing this shit. Sick of it already. And out there in the rain, somewhere in God's country, as he calls it, Wentzville, Missouri. Bill, you still there, brother?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm not in Wentzville, man. I'm in St. Charles.
Whatever.
A lot nicer out here than it is in Wentzville.
Same
right by the river, baby.
Same difference.
It is all good, baby. I'm doing great. Listen, share, subscribe, repeat. The Holy Trinity of Banned from Ringside 218.
God damn, this is all kind of fucked up. Out there in the west side, Portland, Oregon. 2 beers, Zach Pullman. I hear it's hot than a motherfucker. How hot is hot?
It is 102 right now, and I'm a big, sweaty bag of meat that is hungover and full of self-hatred.
See, you need to come back home. That's what it is. You just come back home. You don't have these problems, so that way you can just sweat this out. This is only 94 here, so, this is just, not even an issue compared to that 104 you got out there. You coming back home or what?
I didn't mind it when I was at Top Golf yesterday.
Okay. Okay.
But today it sucks.
Touche, motherfucker. Touche. I'm not sure how long we're going to have Bill here, so we're going to try to keep things moving for the front part. So let's do our due diligence. You know that Bill has the baby coming. We're going to talk about that here in 30 seconds. I'm going to let him talk about that. But to support that baby on the way, it is time for you to go get yourself some Bill's beard balm. Say that 5 times fast. I can't say it once 5 times fast. Bill, Jesus Christ, how do you do this shit every week?
You are fucking stoned.
Yes, I am, as a matter of fact. Beard balm. Go get you some beard balm. Get yourself into the DMs of BFR JCP, BFR Bill, BFR 2 Beer, BFR Pod. Request that beer balm to get yourself acclimated to your significant other. Make yourself look good. Support the baby on the way. And on that lovely note, I am done talking. Let's get to that 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
This is going to be a long pod. Bill, go ahead. Take it over. You have the floor. What do you want to talk about?
50 black hair wigs.
I would like to hear the 1 count's going to be Jason trying to say Bill's beard balm 5 times in a row, and until he does it, I will not start the 1 count. No, the 1 count's going to be all those NXT future endeavors, as Jason mentioned just a couple seconds ago. Bronson Reed being the big one, probably the most surprising one. Mercedes Martinez was somebody that they brought in who was a good hand, and she certainly could have done a lot in that division. Bobby Fish being the other big one that, he brought a lot to the table. I guess where I would like to start, and I'm sorry if I'm yelling, it's raining really fucking hard. I am in the parking lot at Aldi, and I'm not going to go, but stop raining. Sorry. I guess they were talking about doing a rebranding where they want to make NXT what it was in its infancy days, being younger than it is now. However, when NXT really became a phenomenon amongst marks was when they started bringing in the likes of Samoa Joe, Adam Cole, baby, who is young, but who's not old, but he was an indie darling. And now we have Kieran Cross and Samoa Joe fighting for the NXT belt. Hopefully Samoa Joe, if he wins, be a transitional champion if they're truly planning on going younger. I guess my question to you guys is, did this week feel like a rebranding of NXT? Because that's what they said they were going to go with. What do you think, Kabir?
I think it's not going to be so sudden. I think, or it might be sudden, but it won't be so soon. It's more of like after Takeover is what I'm guessing, or maybe later on, like 2022 or something. I'm not 100% on it, but it definitely does feel like that, because NXT has been kind of listless, as far as like booking goes. We talk about all the time. It's not the same as it was, unfortunately. So, was that your windshield wipers?
Yeah, sorry, I'll turn them off.
Something getting ready to happen to Bill. I just don't know what it is. You okay?
I guess I don't need them on if I'm just sitting here.
About to say, blow the horn twice if you're good.
But yeah, it is a bummer that if you're too old, too fat, too short, you have no future in WWE in its current incarnation.
Sounds like Zach just named the 3 reasons why he hates himself.
Oh, buddy, you ain't
they're in the top. They're in the top 10.
I'll say this: you ain't shit either, self-deprecating motherfucker. I thought it felt like a different show, a developmental show, if you will, just for like certain reasons. Like Gigi Nolan comes out, has a squash matches were kind of like the thing this week with NXT. People came out, Gigi Nolan came out, you saw her vignette, she came out, had a squash, couldn't even tell you who she squashed. Somebody else had a squash match too. The NXT Breakout Tournament. God bless Trey Baxter. But he was dead man walking.
Chase.
Okay, yeah.
Andre Chase got squashed by
your boy LA Knight, and that sets up their rematch or whatever the case may be for the $1 million title. And we'll break that all down in a second. To me, that wasn't NXT 2 or 3 weeks ago. You know what I'm saying? It was like boom, boom, squash match. It felt like that felt like developmental to me, okay? That felt like me watching AEW Dark or Dark Elevation. It's not a knock against either show, but that's what it is. You're going to go over there, you're going to see some squash matches, but you're also going to see some good matches too. And there were some good matches on this card as well. For me, this felt like developmental because it was like, okay, here are the new names you got to watch out for. Saray opened up the show against Dakota Kai. Andre Chase. And lost. Yeah, see, don't even get me started about that. That's a whole nother story for just a second. Odyssey Jones was getting this big push against, obviously, Trey Baxter. Drake Maverick, all of a sudden, he comes off the side of the milk carton, and Bowd comes off the side of the milk carton, and you put these two jokers together, and this is the one squash match that wasn't a squash. You had, Mei Ying come out of nowhere, and now she starts to make her presence known with no Xia Li running around. So, I mean, for me, there was enough of the old NXT, in quotes, I'll put that, to where it looked like it was similar, but there are seeds being planted that there is a new NXT on the way, and there are certain stars that I think they're getting ready to push, and I think you saw some of them getting pushed on Wednesday or Tuesday. I'm sorry.
Okay, but I mean, are squash matches necessarily a bad thing? Like they're a good thing. It's like I almost wish that NXT would employ a few more squash matches instead of just having story, just so you can kind of establish new wrestlers and what their finishers are and shit like that. Like when I heard the name of LA Knight's finisher this week, I don't think I had ever heard it before. Blunt force trauma, I think it's what it's called. it's basically like an RKO. I did not know that was the name of this finisher. I think squash matches can do a lot of good for promotion. Am I wrong with that?
Not at all. No, I think, I mean, if you look back at like what many consider the heyday of their wrestling, you know, nostalgia, and also, I mean, it was the heyday for all of, you know, America as far as popularity, like the Attitude Era and Monday Night Wars. There were squash matches on both those, and it was awesome. Like, sometimes even like your big popular stars, like, you know, like Lex Luger would just go out there and just beat the shit out of some jobber, and it would just like flex his muscles, and everybody loved it. But yeah, I think they could certainly be employed, especially when you look at talent coming in like a Frankie Monet. Just let her beat on some jobbers for like 6 weeks instead, like they're beating her in week 2.
I'm not, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be jobbers or jobber matches. I totally agree with everything you said on both accounts. Okay, for this scenario, this felt like more so of, it just happened so many times where I was just like, oh, okay, I wasn't mad, but it was just like something that I personally noticed. You know what I'm saying? Gigi Nolan comes out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? So we're getting her. I can't think of her partner or whatever. But the biggest thing is you got Mandy Rose, you know, tweeting in or whatever. So
Jane.
Okay, there you go. So you have JC Jane, Gigi Nolan, and Mandy Rose. They're, you know, they seem like, you know, a female faction or something along those lines. So I mean, it's the landscape is changing, and the old names, the names that we are familiar with, we knew and we loved, those are getting ready to be gone. That chapter is getting ready to close, and they're getting ready to start a new chapter. And like I said, it's not sweeping, but for me, it was just enough to where I could tell a smidgen of a difference. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't like, it was like, oh shit, what's this? This is a new NXT. It was just enough to where I was like, okay, there's something different about this.
Do you want NXT to change? I want it to be booked. I want it to be booked better. I'm not sure I want it to change. I mean, NXT is. AEW has.
Go ahead.
AEW has clearly taken over the mantle of must see every week. I watch NXT first every week because I'm also the type of dude that eats all my vegetables first so I can dig into the steak with the blue cheese. You know what I mean? Like, I like saving my good stuff for last. So, like,
you ain't shit.
I watch NXT first because AEW feels exciting. NXT feels like, I won't say homework. I mean, I still like it. Like, for example, there was a match on this week's NXT that beat anything for my money that was on AEW. But at the same time, AEW feels like event television. They've really, and we've talked about this over the last couple of weeks, they have so much momentum, and it's so much fun to watch. And you're really like, even Jericho Wardlow, like, you knew what was going to happen, but it was a match that you want to see because they're telling such a good story with it. But at the same time, I don't want NXT to change. I want NXT to get better, but I don't think it's time for an overhaul at all.
Tubier, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, the one reason NXT became so good was they were effectively trying to kill, like, Ring of Honor, right? They were trying to be the work rate place and hire all these, like, indie dudes, and it was awesome. It was Ring of Honor with better production. And then their focus was shifted to beat AEW, and that was a losing battle, and they have not recovered from it, and they're in pure denial that even happened. And they're losing so bad. It's not even, now the war is actually AEW and Monday Night Raw for ratings. It's not NXT. And like, they just seem to be listless. Like, they seem to be like out to sea with a torn sail. They got like no captaining, like no captain steering the ship. So I don't know. It's weird. I don't think that you need to overhaul it in the sense of like change the promotion entirely. Like, I agree with Bill. I think you just get back to basics, like just book some stuff Really, I mean, put on some good matches and have some good booking, and if you book it, they will come. And get out of that Capitol Wrestling Center. Put them on the road.
Yeah, I'm kind of over the
that
CWC myself.
That center is just so boring. It makes the show like it looks worse and it's less exciting. AEW's got like this Friday Night Rampage. There's gonna be 15,000 people screaming their fucking heads off. It's gonna be awesome.
AEW Dynamite was not even that great of a show in terms of AEW Dynamite shows. I know that Zach talks about how every week gets better and better. And
douse some water on that shit.
But I mean, he was right for a while. It was that way. And this week, they took a little step back. There was tons of vignettes, and which is fine. Like that's what happens. Like I always used to get mad when I'd watch Mad Men, and people would criticize Mad Men on a week-to-week basis. Be like, well, this one didn't have that much stuff. It's like you're watching a story. It's the same way with AEW, and at the same time, AEW was still really fucking good. You know what I mean? And it still got furthered stories. And I just wish NXT would try to adopt a little bit more of that. Going backwards and trying to become another OVW or FCW or what the fuck ever, that seems like the wrong move, not even from a competition standpoint with AEW, just from an NXT standpoint. Everybody considered it a third brand. We here at BFR consider it the one brand, really. I mean, we talk about NXT way more than we talk about main roster shit. I just think it doesn't make sense to restart or reboot or whatever they're thinking about doing.
I'll say this. I agree with you guys because that's the style of wrestling that I personally like. I like the in-ring stuff first, vignettes, promos, that stuff to me is second. That's not WWE. I guess that's my better choice of words. This makes sense from the WWE perspective. They want guys that they can groom and build their own superstars and have them be taught their way. They want NXT to go back to being developmental again. And if that means you lose the guys of Bronson Reeds or Mercedes Martinez or whoever it may be, Bobby Fish, then so be it. I really think, and a lot of people I see on Twitter, they're kind of in agreement on this. They never thought that NXT was the quote-unquote third brand. They've always thought it was developmental, and they thought that biggest reason that it failed is because it didn't develop superstars. In my humble opinion, I disagree with that. I think you put it up against AEW, and that was just asking for trouble, and it just so happens that you end up losing that little skirmish. Well, I mean, some people want NXT to be that developmental brand, and I get that. You need, some sort of developmental system to bring on the next wave of superstars. How many times?
Yeah, but I mean, these assholes that you talk to on Twitter that say shit like they didn't create any superstars. I mean, to me, and a lot of people like me, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, those are two guys that are fucking superstars now. Like, those are guys that I will watch for the rest of their career no matter what. I'm not even talking about the Kevin Owenses of the world. Like, I'm talking about guys that were only on NXT, that made their bones on NXT, that I love forever now until they get Me Too'd or something.
Two-Beer, are you worried about Ciampa and Gargano moving forward?
I think they're both in the twilight of their careers anyway, so I think Gargano has a future there as a trainer. I think everybody respects the hell out of him, and I think he'll always have a place in that company and an income stream. I don't know about Ciampa. I don't know if the same applies, but I mean, he has like some left in the tank, as Mark Henry would say. But at the same time, he just had his neck fused. Like he's wrestling on borrowed time. right now anyway, and a rigorous schedule. So I'm not necessarily worried about them. And if they do want to wrestle and they do get released, they got work because they're dudes. So.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Let me run down the NXT show real quick, and then we can keep it moving. We already kind of talked about it for 30 seconds, but Saray lost her debut. Well, I shouldn't say her debut, but the curtain jerker match against Dakota Kai. Raquel Gonzalez comes out, chases Dakota Kai away. Bill, Saray loses. Is this a good thing?
Sorry, I was on mute. I didn't want the rain to interrupt with the podcast because I'm such a
professional.
No, I don't think it's a good thing that Saray lost. You have to keep Dakota Kai strong. This would have been one of those instances where it would have been good to have a squash because Dakota Kai just declared herself a singles wrestler. She hates Raquel Gonzalez, as we all knew was going to happen, and it's not always bad. But why have her go over Saray? It just doesn't make any sense. And she went over clean too. There was no heel tactics or anything like that. I don't think it says shit for Saray, really. In the thinking about it backstage, probably like, well, let's see what Saray does with one of our biggest stars, and can she handle it and shit like that, all that Vince stuff. But no, I don't think it's terribly bad.
Fair enough. Index obviously has their first date. I'm sorry. I know Bill loves LA Knight and Cameron Grimes. This is my favorite angle of the bunch. Watching Johnny Gargano play the jealous dad, watching Candice LeRae asking for protection and then popping up pregnant in real life. I think there is such an irony about that. Is absolutely crazy. Index, I'm all for that. Hit Row has a promo. I shouldn't say promo, but a vignette. Basically throwing down the gauntlet against Legado del Fantasma, and he being Swerve throws a mask into a fire to kind of, I guess, disrespect the Lucha Libre culture. Two Beer, did that work for you?
I did not see this. Sorry, so I can't speak to it. I didn't even know that happened.
Oh, damn, I forgot about that. Bill, did you see this? Did you see this segment?
He's on mute again.
Yeah, probably. I'm going to go ahead and take that as no.
Oh, shit. Sorry. I'm really trying to be professional. I'm not even drinking. It's so stupid. Are you talking about Index and the way?
No, if you want to talk about that, you can. But I was talking about Hit Row, where Swerve threw the mask into the fire. Did you buy that? And then talk about Index if you want to talk about Index.
Yeah, I bought that as Hit Row's not out there. They're not trying to be white meat baby faces. They are out there trying to just be badass, and people are going to like them because they're badass. I'm totally fine with them throwing the mask in there. I'm all in on Hit Row, man. I think they're great.
Hit Row. LA Knight.
I'm a big Hit Row fan, and I'm also a huge Johnny Gargano fan. I can't stand this Index angle. I think Indy Hartwell's doing a great job with it, but I'm so over it. Like last week, it just murdered me that they had a match to decide whether or not they could date, and Dexter Lumis lost the match, but they broke the stipulation in 5 seconds, and now they're dating, and it's just, I don't know. Just they should have just had Dexter Lumis win the match, and I wouldn't be so mad about it. I still might be a little tired of it, but what's up?
Love conquers all, bitch. Okay, don't shit on Index. LA Knight and
I gotta admit, I agree 100% with Zach. It's like obviously everybody's doing really good work, but is this the best use of everybody? I just don't think so. Like, is this what Dexter Lumis, aka Sam Shaw, is this what he signed up for when he came to NXT? Is just to be like this comedy angle?
Okay,
I don't mind
Go ahead and finish. Go ahead and finish.
I don't mind comedy in my wrestling,
Clearly.
but is this really is this the best use of him? Like, it's so weird to me that they saw Dexter Lumis and they're like, you know what, we're going to make him a babyface. It's like, what? Why? But that's neither here nor there.
I'll just say this. When you sign with WWE or NXT or anything along those lines, this is things you probably should be expecting. Okay? Sorry, not sorry.
Sure.
And by the way, hashtag fuck Yano. LA Knights versus Andre Chase. Thank you for reminding me, Bill, who his name was. In a squash match where LA Knight goes over. But then one Ted DiBiase comes out and shakes shit up. So we are going to have another match for the $1 million belt. Knight versus Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes wins. He becomes the champion. If Cameron Grimes loses, then Ted DiBiase becomes LA Knight's new butler. Two beer. A, did you like the stipulation? And B, what do you think actually happens?
I mean, I think the stipulation's good. I think it's a way for LA Knight to get his comeuppance, and it keeps the storyline going. So I'm all for it. Ted DiBiase's an all-time great, and he is being all-time great in his part of this. Cameron Grimes is the real star of the show. But yeah, I'm down.
Bill, I'm sure I don't even have to ask you what you thought about this.
Loved it. I thought it was perfect. To be honest, I could use 3 extra weeks of Cameron Grimes being LA Knight's butler, and like a little bit slower burn to Cameron Grimes getting super pissed off. And Ted DiBiase might have been a little rambling when he was out there. I don't know if I said this last week. He just seems like a guy that went to high school with my dad, who I've never actually met. My dad's like, "Oh, this is Ted DiBiase. You remember he graduated in 1972 with me?" And I'm like, "Okay, here's this rosy-faced fucking drunk 67-year-old." But I mean, he really does look like a guy that I would end up in a foursome with at some fucking St. Dominic class of 72 golf tournament that I go to with my dad.
That is not the foursome I thought you were going for.
You might want to be careful with that word foursome with this group throwing that shit out there like that. I almost did the cigarette and you said that. I was like, what? Hang on. What? Foursome? What the fuck are you talking about?
I don't, Jason, I know you're not Baker Vance, so I don't expect you to know that term.
Fuck you.
But Zach Coleman, golfer that I know that he is, should know what that means.
Wow.
He's heating up.
Fuck you. You're cool. Fuck you. And I'm out.
I will say though that I'm still all in on this angle. Like I have no problem with it. I think that everybody has performed their part very well.
No, I would agree with that. It's my second favorite angle behind Index, but to each his own. I do like this angle. I was surprised that they were going back to defending the title this quick, but I mean, we're going to have to do something with it. So if we're going to defend the title at TakeOver, that's going to be a monster-ass TakeOver. That's going to be a fucking stat card, whether you believe in Joe or Cross or not. I think there's a lot of other matches that are going to be on that card that's going to be really good.
I agree.
We talked about Gigi Dolan. She came out and had a squash. Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole, Bebe, had their final face-off before their TakeOver match, and they set the rules, which kind of sounds awfully familiar if you start to think about it. William Regal comes out and declares this going to be a best 2 out of 3 falls, and the competitors can make the steps. Kyle O'Reilly says that he is going to be making his step where he's mad that he lost the straight-up match. So the first fall is a straight-up match. Adam Cole is pissed because he says that thank you. He decides that he should have won the street fight. So the street fight is the second match, and if it goes to the third fall, it will be a steel cage to decide the third fall and the winner. I'm going to go to Two Beer on this one because I know what I think and I know what this sounds like. Two Beer, what do you think of the step of the best 2 out of 3 falls for Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole, baby?
Well, I mean, at least it is, kind of goes above and beyond, right? Because the stipulation increases in intensity, so to speak. It's not like they do sometimes where they have like a bunch of stip matches and then they just wrestle a normal match for like the blow off. So I think one way or another, this thing is getting blown off because Adam Cole's either going to the main roster or he's going to somewhere else. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, AEW. Yeah, I'm okay with it. 3 stages of hell or whatever.
Bill, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I don't know what you're thinking. What I'm thinking is Adam Cole correctly called out Kyle O'Reilly for being the most boring babyface imaginable. He gets to choose the stipulation on match 1 and he chooses a regular wrestling match. That's like going to Baskin Robbins and getting vanilla. Like, what the fuck are you, like, that's your choice? Is a regular wrestling match? God, Kyle O'Reilly's such a shitty babyface. That's what I was thinking. And then Street Fight, Street Fight's not really any better because I don't even know that. To this day, I'm 41 years old. I've been doing this podcast for 4 years. I've watched wrestling my entire life. I still don't know exactly what a street fight is. Does it just mean there's no DQ?
Yeah, it's no rules. Yeah, no rules, no count out, no disqualification. Let them go.
So just call it no DQ then.
Well, that
it doesn't sound as cool.
What'd you say, Two Beer?
All right.
It doesn't sound as
cool.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, this is what did they call it? The undisputed send-off or whatever, undisputed payoff, whatever it is. I mean, this is probably going to be the final time that these two guys are going to go after it. What I was thinking is that this sounded like Gargano and Cole, basically the blow-off to their feud. It was a 2 out of 3 falls match, and it was basically the same thing where, they both picked a step, and then William Regal picked the 3rd step, and it was like a war game step or some crazy shit. That's the first thing I thought of off the top. Now, from there, I won't say that Kyle O'Reilly is a shitty babyface. I just don't like him being a babyface. He doesn't work for me personally. Okay? That's just what it is.
He doesn't seem sure of himself cutting promos. It's just really... I'll tell you what, compared to Adam Cole, he seems completely out of his element.
Well, there are some people that think Adam Cole can't cut a promo. So, I mean... 2 sides.
Breaking their head on a platter. Who the fuck says that?
I saw Jason mention that on Twitter last night. I'm like, surely people can't believe that. And then I saw people in the mentions, and there are people that believe that,
okay.
And they should not reproduce.
Can't cut a promo?
I said, what did I say? I'm surprised. Basically, I'll just paraphrase it. Basically, I said that, and there's still people think that Adam Cole can't talk. And I had the rolling eyes emoji on it. And it wasn't like, 30 seconds. It was like, boom, somebody's coming out. I'm like, Jesus Christ, for fuck's sake, people, it might not.
That's legitimately insane. That means that they're watching, they watch wrestling for way different reasons than I do.
Okay, and that's why I'm saying that these same people want NXT to go back to being developmental. They don't want it to be a quote-unquote 3rd brand because they never saw it as a 3rd brand. It was always supposed to be developmental. And then once they got, Samoa Joe, Nakamura, Finn Balor, Kenta or Hideo Itami, whatever you want to call them, that changed the whole landscape of what NXT was to what we know to it now, and then what it's probably going to end up going back to being here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'll just say unequivocally, those people are very dumb.
No, go ahead, finish.
There's no other way to say it. Like, how can you watch Adam Cole cut that promo on Karrion Kross, or Karrion Kross? You know what they do for me that's special? They ring the bell. Like, how can you hear that promo and not just get like chills? Like, Like, that's
not
what
even,
you
not
want
even
from
choose, but just like, ooh, damn, okay, what you gonna say, motherfucker? That to me was like, two motherfuckers going off on each other. Once Adam Cole said that, my eyes kind of look at Kieran Cross like, okay, motherfucker, what you gonna say? You gonna let this motherfucker talk to you like that?
I mean that it's just silly. Like, we shouldn't entertain it anymore, and I'm sorry I began.
Don't worry about it. I brought it up.
I'm going with my third straight day not looking at Twitter at all.
You're not missing anything. I was about to say same old shit. AEW versus WWE.
I'll tell you what. I finished my book. I finished the book. I'm like 100 pages into my next book. It's like I feel better. Like I don't feel down all the time.
Look at you.
I know, man. I read this. I read this tweet about global warming, and all it did was make me feel really down. Like, because all I was reading was global warming and fucking COVID shit, and I was like, you know what? This isn't doing anything good for me. Getting ready to bring a child into this world. I'm going to be done with Twitter for a while, and I've taken three days off, and you can hear me. I feel like I'm in such a better mood. Fuck those people.
Okay, that's what's up. I'll say this mental break off with Twitter. I'm down for that. William Regal announces a couple of matches for next week. You're going to have Kushida versus Roddy Strong for the Cruiserweight title. And then MSK off the side of the milk carton. They return, and they're going to face Imperium for the NXT tag team titles. Two Beer Zach Pullman, do you have a problem with Roddy Strong going for the Cruiserweight title after being the North American champion, or am I just the dumbass in the room?
That doesn't really bother me. No. Especially because it's Kushida, and that just sounds amazing.
I'm not saying that the match is going to be bad. I'm just saying, it sounds like a quote-unquote step down.
I don't know. I mean, it definitely does, but it doesn't bother me because it shouldn't be. Like, that Cruiserweight title shouldn't be a step down. It just has kind of a sordid history.
Do you watch 205 Live?
Does anybody? Okay. I don't even think the people that...
About to say, you lucky that motherfucker's on NXT, because the next words out of my mouth was, who's the Cruiserweight champion? And you got that F. But that's okay. I understand what you're saying. It's all good.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Do you watch 205?
Build, MSK comes off the side of the milk carton. They're going to challenge Imperium next week. Does Walter come back? And we've seen Walter come back. Spoiler alert, he's back in the house. We're going to talk about that for the main event. Does Walter get involved in the MSK Imperium tag team match next week?
No, he's got bigger fish to fry. I don't think Walter gets involved with that at all. I did enjoy Imperium breaking up MSK's vignette last week, and I enjoyed MSK breaking up Imperium this week. Yeah. That's good. That's a good way to build a match. Yeah. I want to see that match.
Tick for tat. That was very, very well played, because I totally thought that was going to be another Imperium vignette. And then the main event, you had Ilya Dragunov versus Pete Dunne. They had a head-to-head, well, not even head-to-head. Ilya Dragunov came out basically, in my opinion, to kind of introduce himself for those who don't watch NXT UK or don't even know who he is. He's getting ready to face Walter at TakeOver on the 22nd of August for the NXT UK the NXT UK Championship. Walter on a monster run of whatever it is. I think it's 500 some odd days, something ridiculous.
No, it's 800.
800 days. Okay.
800.
That's right.
800 plus.
He beat Pete Dunne a while back and hasn't lost it since. So. Yeah. Let's talk about the match, Bill, because I know you've seen it. I know Two Beer knows what happened, so we'll start with Bill first. What did you think of the match?
Oh, I did watch this match, too. It was great.
Oh, you watched the match? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Two Beer.
Oh, no, it's fine. I was pointing out, I watched it. I made sure to at least get that in. And, the match ruled. Wasn't terribly long, but what it was tight, really, really well wrestled. Dumbest finish. You probably could have drew like 15 finishes out of a hat, and this is like the dumbest one.
Why do you say it's a dumb finish?
Two reasons. I mean, Dragunov is challenging for the title. They want to make that match seem like a big deal, and then they beat him. Like, so if he can't beat Pete Dunne, who, granted, was a great NXT UK champion, then how do they expect to beat Walter? It's like this insurmountable, like, force. And two, somebody might say, like, oh, well, it was a distraction finish, but it wasn't a distraction finish because Walter came out distracted Ilya, and then Dunne tried to hit him with the bitter end, but he got out of it and he started doing moves on him, and they're trading moves back and forth. He gives him the knee, and then he gives him the bitter end. So it wasn't even a distraction finish. It didn't make anybody look good, really, except for Pete Dunne, which is fine. I mean, Pete Dunne's great, but he's not in any kind of program for anything right now. Like, you can beat Pete Dunne. It's not a big deal.
I didn't hate this. I didn't hate this ending as much as Zach did. I didn't really like it. But when they said, and I had no spoilers, I watched it this morning. I didn't see anything. Like I said, I've been off Twitter, and I didn't read the recaps or anything. I knew that something was going to happen because nobody was beating anybody clean here. And nobody should beat anybody clean here. Talking about the match before I get to the ending, the match was so great. And I could watch those two guys. They give them 40 minutes and let them go because they're both hard-hitting, like Dragunov as his clothesline, where he has wrist control, kind of like Okada does, and then he just clotheslines the fuck out of Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne was doing all of his tricks. I love Pete Dunne. Maybe my favorite wrestler in NXT right now, like even more than Gargano, even more than Adam Cole, baby, even more than Ciampa. Like, I love the way that he wrestles.
You love you some Ciampa.
Really
That's
young.
saying some shit.
It really is. And I thought this match, I knew something was happening. Walter coming down, Pete Dunne goes over, and then Dragunov still gets the better of Walter at the end. I thought it left nobody looking bad. It didn't really make anybody look great, except for Dragunov and Pete Dunne had a really great match. But in terms of booking, it didn't make anybody look great. Dragunov losing the match and then getting the better of Walter makes me kind of think that Dragunov is going over.
Okay, so I guess here's my I'll end with a thought,
Which,
and then I'll throw.
Which I would be cool with, by the way.
Okay, I guess then that will make it two thoughts or two questions. My only thought with this is I agree with Two Beer. They did the exact opposite of what they did in the curtain jerker match. They kept Dakota Kai strong, even though they had Saray losing in a position where she probably shouldn't have lost. That, if I'm not mistaken, that was her first loss in NXT. You could throw anybody else out there and make that work. This is kind of the same thing, but they did it in reverse. Pete Dunne really doesn't have anything going on, really doesn't have a title he's chasing, and the rumor mill is that he might be the next to have his contract expire to NXT. So I guess there's my two-part question. And I'll just let either one of you guys, I'll throw it to Two Beer to hand it to Bill. Two-part question. Number one, what happens to Pete Dunne? Does he stay in NXT? Is this a way to keep him in NXT? And number two, do you legitimately think, and I'm not asking for a prediction because we're not going to do that yet, do you think legitimately that they would pull the trigger on Ilya going over Walter? Go ahead, Two Beer.
I mean, for Pete Dunne in NXT, if he does stick around, he needs to have like a title run. Like maybe he's the guy that dethroned Joe. I think that's got to be in the works. Otherwise, what else is he going to do? If you remember 4 years ago, we talked about how great this guy was and how he doesn't have a ceiling, but there is definitely a ceiling for him at WWE because he's not going to be on the main roster. With any kind of push, just not going to happen, no matter how good he is. Not with Vince around and with Pritchard around. But, so yeah, I don't know. I would selfishly like to see him elsewhere. I'd like to see him go to New Japan. even
4 years ago, that match of the year.
I think so. Yeah, 3 or 4.
Sounds right.
And him and Tyler Bate, who, where the hell's Tyler Bate? Ain't nowhere.
4 years ago? God damn, that match fucking.
It was great. But yeah, and then as far, what was the second part? Oh, I think if anybody is going to dethrone Walter, Ilya is the guy to do it, because I've seen so many matches of theirs, and they're all fantastic. And I think Walter's gone over every single time. And they're just like such classic opponents for each other. If they're going to do it, I think he's the guy to do it. But that's a big if, because Walter's Walter. Like, he could keep that belt for 8 years, like do like a Brito San Martino run or something.
It kind of makes me want to go back and rewatch all the Dragunov Walter matches, so I could see like how the new one plays off the old one. The same way that New Japan does stuff. Like where this guy won on this move, but now this guy understands it now, so now he's going to
had the counter for
going
it.
to counter that move.
Yeah. The NXT one was kind of a conglomerate of their other matches, like a lot of shared spots, just kind of like a greatest hits. I think that's why it was so good, because they just kind of borrowed stuff from their previous matches, being almost like spot for spot in some cases.
Right.
But
also, we should point out that Dragunov, English is his second language, and that promo he cut on NXT was pretty fucking good.
No, I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it came across basically, this is who I am. This is what I'm looking for. This is the match you need to look out for, because Walter is this indestructible guy.
It's kind of like Jeopardy. When I watch somebody when they play Jeopardy as a second language, it's like, holy shit! Like, this guy is really impressive, and it kind of makes Europeans way more impressive than us Americans, because they all speak 2 languages.
So like whenever you're at a Mexican restaurant and you see someone say gracias instead of thank you, and you're like, that was clever.
You know what I do? Zach, is whenever I go to an Asian restaurant and somebody comes over and drops it off, I always feel like saying gracias. But it's because in my brain, I'm like, oh, I know I should be speaking a different language, but it's like I don't know what Thai for thank you is, so I feel like saying gracias, and it makes me the dumbest American that ever lived.
You said it, I didn't. Let's get to that 2 count.
1, 2, 3.
2 Beer, you're up. What's that 2 count?
Oh man, I am ill prepared, but because I did not watch AEW, but I did hear the opener was amazing with Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, and heard Dante Martin just put on a absolute star-making performance. So pretty much as soon as I get off the podcast with you guys, I'm gonna go sit in the one air-conditioned room here and watch that match, and watch the rest of Dynamite too. But I'm very excited to see that. What did you guys think of it?
For the record, you don't have to tell everybody that you didn't watch it. You can just pretend that you watched it and say that Dante Martin had a great match.
I'm a journalist.
Oh, I forgot we were journalists. Wait, all of us or just you?
I can't speak for anyone else. I'm actually just a total gimmick. I'm not anything at all.
I love the opening match. I love having the side out Dante Martin versus the Elite. It was one of those no-selling, high-flying NXT, AEW tag team / six-way matches that probably pissed purists off, like Jim Cornette wouldn't like it. But if you like watching guys fake fights, then you probably would love it. I was a fan of it. It wasn't my favorite match, but I certainly watched the entire thing, and I was entertained by it. What do you think, Jason?
I agree with what Two Beers said. It was the Elite and were basically the stars coming in, but Dante Martin, I'm sorry, he came off the screen in such a way that it would be hard for me to imagine him being able to go back to being a tag team partner with Top Flight at this point. I know it's his brother and everything. I get that, but they have a star in the making, literally in the palm of their hands, and this would be another, and it's more so for people like me who watch motherfuckers on Twitter debate back and forth. The AEW doesn't create new stars. This dude became a star in front of your eyes within 10 minutes. That was a star-making performance. There are no superlative words that I can throw out there that could do that man justice.
If you care to watch, though, like, I think that a lot of these people that say shit like that, they probably read the recaps and they don't really, like, pay attention. They're like, well, whatever, Dante Martin. But no, it was a star-making match. I mean, he took the shit out of some bumps. You know, he took the one-wing angel at the end, and
the triple three V-trigger at the end. I mean,
yeah, God bless him. What is he? 20 years old or something?
Yes. Imagine when he's 25. Dude, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, if you fight Kenny Omega on TV when you're 20 years old, you're going to learn a lot just by doing that, from what I understand.
This is banned from ringside.
All right, so obviously we were in the middle of the podcast last night, and Mother Nature decided to stop us doing the pod. My power went off in the apartment and basically shut down the pod for the rest of last night, being Thursday. So this is now Friday morning. It is about 8:20 Central Standard Time, so I'm not sure where you are listening to this. So I have been tasked to finish the pod solo dolo. So it is your boy JCB, Jason Cornelius Bell, a.k.a. Hand O Opry. See, I can do it the second time around. I'm not nervous like I was the first time. You know, it's kind of hard filling big shoes, and that this is serious shit for 30 seconds. It's kind of hard filling big shoes with Bill being gone, but from this point, it will be a little different. He won't be the primary host. I'll have to fill those big shoes, and they are big shoes to fill. I just want to make sure that things are done right and done in a way that is not embarrassing to Bill and or myself. So if I do make mistakes along the way until he gets back into the driver's seat, then, you know, so be it. I'm just going to make mistakes. Now, all that being said, let's get back to the AEW recap. We were just finishing up on the superlative performance of one Dante Martin. Like I said, Dante Martin, I thought, stole the show here and did an amazing job just separating himself from everybody else, and that's saying a lot when you got the Bucks and Kenny Omega in that same match. So post-match, Christian comes out and is announced as the number one contender and will be wrestling Kenny Omega at All Out, which was not received very well. This was very reminiscent of when Rey Mysterio came out at the Royal Rumble and fans were waiting for Daniel Bryan, who never showed up, and Philadelphia, if I'm not mistaken, lost their shit and booed the shit out of one Rey Mysterio, which, if you stop to think about it, that's kind of weird to even say. But yeah, in this scenario, Pittsburgh was not too happy with the announcement of Christian Cage being the contender at All Out. So now, in this scenario, they kind of doubled down on it. Christian announces that not only is he going to wrestle for the AEW Championship, but on Friday night, the premiere of AEW Rampage, he is going to wrestle for the Impact World title. Okay. I get what they're trying to do here. You want eyes on Rampage. Totally get it. I think Britt Baker and Red Velvet would be a good start, but you want to, do a little more, get a little people added to the fire, and they put this match as the curtain jerker for Rampage. Britt and Red Velvet will be the main event. I'm just not sure that this is the way to go. It's my knee-jerk reaction was like, okay, what the fuck is Christian Cage getting 2 title matches for? So, obviously, something is afoot here, and I wish that Zach we'd have got to this point before Mother Nature decided to shut shit down. I wish we'd have got to this point, because this is the question I would have asked Zach, because he is the AEW guy around here. I won't call him an apologist because he's not here, but he is an AEW apologist. And I would like to see what he had to say about this, because like I said, for me personally, I'm not a huge fan of this. I think this is just trying to be a little too cute in a scenario where you didn't have to be cute. Malachi Black comes out with a interesting vignette. Obviously, you brag over the fact that you think you've dismissed Cody Rhodes, you got his boot, but there was a separate vignette from Buddy Murphy, whose 90 days seems like it's coming up here in a little bit. I think it's at the end of the month. Don't quote me on that. Anyway, fans are maybe trying to connect Buddy Murphy with Malachi Black, saying that Buddy Murphy would be the first member of the quote-unquote House of Black faction. I'm not sure if they're going to go that way. Personally, I'd rather just see Malachi Black on his own and just wreak havoc by himself on the AEW roster. But it seems like Buddy Murphy might be coming to AEW. If he does come to AEW, I'm not sure that that's being in this House of Black faction is the way that they're going to go. It seems like they took that WWE storyline of Aleister Black and moved it over to AEW. If they do the same thing, that's a big if they do the same thing with Buddy Murphy and Malachi Black weren't necessarily friends. They were obviously enemies. So that would set up somebody for Malachi Black to take on that's non-AEW. Now, do you want to do that? Probably not. You want to keep Buddy Murphy as strong as humanly possible, and that's what they have seen, they being AEW, have seemed to do when they bring new talent over. They don't come over and job out for no apparent reason. They come over and are strong. So that might lead credence to the fact that he does come over and join Malachi Black. What happens, I'm not sure. We'll stay tuned. Either way, Malachi Black has come over, and I said it on Twitter, I guess it was last week when I watched the squash match with him and Cody. They've done more with him in the few weeks they've had him than WWE main roster did in the months, dare I say, year they had him on the main roster. I believe his name was Daniel Garcia versus Darby Allin was the next match, and Daniel Garcia basically was another guy that stole the show. I thought he out-wrestled Darby Allin, to be perfectly honest. I mean, he had Allin twisted up in pretzels in so many different ways. It was very reminiscent of maybe a Daniel Bryan or a Zack Sabre Jr. Darby Allin did win this match. He won via the coffin drop. But to me, once again, and if they choose to go this route, they have another diamond in the rough with one Daniel Garcia. Death Triangle had a promo, it was a promo basically saying Pac's basically coming out and telling Andrade to kick rocks. The Lucha Brothers aren't interested in joining him at this time. I think it's ultimately going to happen, but just not right now. They announced Pac and Andrade as I shouldn't say they announced it, but Pac wants to face Andrade, better choice of words, at All Out. Lucha Brothers seemingly throwing their hats back into the tag team title race. That's been a long overdue. I like Phoenix and Pac together. They're a great tag team. They were a great tag team. I think any of the combination of the three would be a really good tag team, but the tag team in Death Triangle is the Lucha Brothers. They should be the ones chasing down the Bucks. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Bucks face the Lucha Brothers at All Out, which reminds me, let me rewind the tape. In that Christian promo where I got sidetracked because I was so focused on Christian. In that Christian promo, Jurassic Express comes out with Christian because the Elite, Kenny Omega, it was 10 people in the ring, waiting for Christian when he came out. Jurassic Express came out and got his back, and they announced that they were going to face the Bucks. I believe that is next Wednesday for the AEW tag team titles. Now, once again, this kind of poses an interesting issue. I thought you might want to save this for All Out and kind of build to this, and if you wanted to do a title change there, that might be the way to do it. I'm not sure that especially for the Bucks being on this almost a year run with the tag titles, I'm not sure you flip the titles on Dynamite. That's just me, especially with All Out around the corner. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Bucks retain and then Lucha Brothers be the next team that they face and then face them at All Out. Or I've heard different, conspiracy theories. Somehow the Bucks win by DQ and you run it back at All Out. Very possible because, the Bucks are heels. I'm just not sure that the way they've booked it and the way the referees seemingly are missing certain things with Buck fuckery, I would just say that my knee-jerk reaction is the Bucks retain on Wednesday, and then they face the Lucha Brothers at All Out. But we shall see. Next match was Orange Cassidy, Chucky T, and Wheeler Yuta versus Hardy Family Office. In this case, it was Private Party and Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy gets the win over Wheeler Yuta. Decent match. Not much for me here. Basically, this feels like this is more for an Orange Cassidy, Matt Hardy match coming up down the line. Just not sure what the stip would be, because at this point there's going to have to be a stip. There's just no way around it. You had an Andrade promo, basically, telling not the Bucks, but Pac and the Lucha Brothers, they made a mistake. Time will tell. We'll see where this goes. Santana and Ortiz have a promo. Ortiz looks, like I said last week, in the best shape of his life. They're still running down FTR. As soon as Cash Wheeler gets healed, they'll run that back for sure. Naga Rose versus Chris Statlander was the next match. Chris Statlander goes over and seemingly is in line to be the next opponent for the winner of tonight's match on Rampage with Britt Baker versus Red Velvet. I'll just say this about Naga Rose. It's been real interesting to see how they've kind of booked her from the start, where she seemed to be the centerpiece of the AEW women's division. And now she doesn't seem, all that important. She's a top 5 woman. I'm not sure that that's going to be the case when the new rankings come out. I honestly don't care, but it's just more for the way they book things here. She's always around the top 5. She's always around the title itself. But now that we've gotten a influx of women coming in, women not brought up, but being showcased from dark and dark elevation, I guess, better choice of words. Naga Rose has not really been nearly as prominent as she's been in the past. I'm curious to see if that continues. Bucks have a promo, basically reconfirming the fact that they do have a tag team title match coming up against Jurassic Express. Jurassic Express kind of messes up Nick Jackson's layup, and then Jungle Boy dunks on Matt Jackson. It was a big time mess, but it did make me giggle. I can't lie. Red Velvet has a good promo. It was basically, started from the bottom, now we're here kind of promo, which is always a good thing. Unfortunately, Britt Baker is her opponent, and it's in Pittsburgh. I just think it would have been a hard sell to make her the babyface, especially in Pittsburgh. When Britt Baker came out for her promo, I thought that was an amazing way to really establish her as the star of the division. Even if you don't like Britt Baker, I do like Britt Baker, and I thought this was a way to have the hometown crowd behind her, obviously, because she is from Pittsburgh, and kind of, reestablish the fact that she is one of the top stars of the division. So it was cool to see it in that sense, even though she is a heel. You know, Pittsburgh had no problem, you know, getting behind her. They were waving the DMD towels, very reminiscent of the terrible towels. So I guess that's another reason why I kind of jumped on board with Britt Baker. The interesting part about this was after the Britt Baker promo, Red Velvet came out and attacked her. I didn't necessarily. Usually, I have a problem with this because I like baby faces to act like baby faces, and this wasn't a baby face move. Baby faces don't just jump the heels from behind. They would walk up on them, and then a fight incurred, then so be it. Red Velvet did something that didn't feel babyface like, so it kind of captured my attention. I didn't necessarily have a problem with this in this scenario because ultimately I think Red Velvet is just going to be the heel, considering who it is and where this match is being played out at. Like my boy Bill always says, you might as well just lean into it. Red Velvet is going to be the heel. You might as well just lean into it and just let the match take care of itself. I think it's going to be a really good match. I'm looking forward to it. Brian Cage and Ricky Starks come out and have their vignette. They're going to have a face-to-face on Wednesday night. I'm interested to see where that goes. The Dark Order versus the Good Brothers was the next matchup. This was for the Impact Tag Team titles. Good to see the Impact Tag Team titles defended on AEW, especially when the Good Brothers are a big part of AEW and Impact for that matter, obviously. The Good Brothers did retain. This was a good match. Can't sit up here and as much as I've been shitting on the Dark Order as of late because of their booking and the lack of direction, I can't take away what they do in the ring. Stu Grayson and Evil Uno are my favorite tag team of the Dark Order, and they represented themselves very well, I thought, here. The interesting thing for me here, coming into the match and coming away from it, is the lack of the rest of the Dark Order presence. Only Colt Cabana was at ringside for this match. So I guess a long overdue storyline is coming out of this. What is happening to the Dark Order? Obviously, there is a little dissension, dare I say, within the ranks. Where this goes, time will tell once again, but a long overdue storyline for the Dark Order that's not named Adam Page. Camille has her vignette. I'm just going to keep speaking it into existence. Camille versus Jade Cargill for the NWA Women's Championship. Not a knock against Layla Hirsch. I like Layla Hirsch a lot, but I think this is a very, for lack of a better word, tall order, to say the least, for Layla Hirsch to pull off this victory and win the NWA title versus one Camille. QT Marshall had his promo where he basically told Tony Schiavone that he wasn't going to apologize to him. They drug out his son Christopher in the ring and started to beat him down. And then one Paul White, a.k.a. The Big Show, comes out to make the save. It was kind of funny where I'm watching Paul White come down, and it's not like he moves very fast. He comes to the ring, and the factory just stayed in the ring. I'm thinking, hey, fellas, this is probably the time that y'all might want to go ahead and get your ghost on, but clearly not. QT Marshall throws Aaron Solo under the bus. One choke slam later, you have the somewhat in-ring debut of Paul White in AEW, even though it was in a squash form. And then we had the main event, the fourth labor, Jericho versus Wardlow. I thought that and this was another reason why I wished these two guys were here, because I thought that MJF said that he was going to be the special guest referee for this match. So when this match happens and he comes out and he's not dressed in gear, that was my knee-jerk reaction. It was like, okay, what's this all about? Was this going to have some fuckery involved? Because now he's not the referee, which it didn't. It was really confusing. It was one of the few times where I thought AEW kind of misstepped, and I'll have to remind myself after I finish this to talk about the other misstep I thought they did. Jericho obviously wins the match. Hang on a second. Hey, knock that shit off. Sorry, my cats are getting ready to have their own AEW wrestling match at my feet. We were going to have to knock that shit off before it gets started. Anyway, Jericho does win the match. Not a surprise, obviously. So the match was decent. I didn't think it was good or bad. It was one of those matches where a predictable match needs to have a good match inside the ring. And it wasn't really that good enough to where I could overlook who is going to win. That's just me personally. Post-match, you had MJF come out and basically say that now we're here at the 5th labor of Jericho. This is against, obviously, MJF at this point. And now the stip is that there can be no Judas effect and the crowd can't sing Judas. Okay, we can work with that first. No Judas effect, no problem. The walls of Jericho can easily make up for the no Judas effect. Not a problem. Now, the no entrance music, the crowd can't sing to Judas is a different animal. I don't think that they'll play the actual physical music, but I think the crowd's just going to sing regardless. I mean, once you see Jericho, somebody will start this shit up, or I just thought of it last night when I was sitting here with no power. You think about a lot of shit when you sit around here with no power. I could see Sammy Guevara coming out with signs and having the lyrics written on the signs and just holding it up, have the crowd sing, going that route. So there's ways around this, obviously, but we're here at the 5th labor of Jericho. It was all right. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's things that were good. There's things I thought that could have been done in different routes, or I guess in different points. But ultimately, we're at the match that we ultimately wanted to see. Now, does Jericho win? A part of me doesn't want him to win. I'm not gonna lie. I think this is, if you wanted to do this match, first and foremost, this is another match I think you could have saved for All Out and to go that route. If they're going to do this match on Wednesday, which it pretty much looks like they're going to do it, I wouldn't be upset if MJF wins, because MJF needs this to keep him as a strong, credible heel. If for whatever reason Jericho does win, then you once again see the example with Bucks and Jurassic Express. I think you end up running it back at All Out for a bigger step. Somebody said on Twitter, Jericho's career is on the line. And I thought that was a little far-fetched at the moment. Then I started to think about it. Jericho is going to be a guest commentator for Rampage. I'm not sure if that's going to be permanent moving forward or just in a guest spot, but we do know that he is going to be a commentator for Rampage. So this might be a scenario where he is the commentator for Rampage moving forward, and then this is the way to get him to be that guest commentator where he puts his career on the line and ultimately loses to MJF. But we'll see what happens on that. The last thing I wanted to talk about, a misstep that I thought AEW did, and it's rare when they do missteps like this, but I thought this was kind of a big one. Kenny Omega obviously is the AAA champion, the Impact champion, and obviously the AEW champion. But someone reminded me this week that Triple Mania is this weekend, and he and Andrade are going to be in the main event for the Mega AAA title. There was no mention of this at any point during the AEW Dynamite broadcast. Now, if you're going to have this gimmick, these titles on Kenny Omega, and you have a match that I'm still trying to figure out how the fuck I'm going to see, wouldn't it behoove you to actually make mention of this? You know, if you're going to have this partnership, people are complaining about this is not doing anything for Impact. If I'm AAA fans, I'm real pissed off, because not only are we not seeing the title defended, now you're not even giving us props on the way to what is their promotion, AAA's Triple Mania is their biggest promotion of the year. Obviously, it sounds like WrestleMania, so Triple Mania is, a play off of that. This is their biggest card of the year with their champion on AEW television, and this was a golden opportunity to remind people, hey, AEW viewers, you got this guy Kenny Omega over here, he has our title. Why don't you try to find a way, like I'm going to have to try to find a way to watch the main event at Triple Mania, and that way maybe you can get a couple of viewers there too. I just think that they really misstepped on that one big time. Other stuff, like I said, if you want to move a match from Wednesday to All Out, it's not the end of the world. I thought Christian getting 2 title matches is awfully fishy, but I'm going to let them take care of that because they're the smarter guys in the room than I am. I think I'm smarter than them, but they probably know what's going on. CM Punk's around the corner. Every day that Daniel Bryan isn't on WWE TV only means to me that it is more and more likely that he is going to be on AEW. Probably around September at that Arthur Ashe show is the rumored date that's going to be happening. So I get it. They're trying to, incorporate these parts in, but there's, like I said, there's a couple missteps that I thought they did here. Not the end of the world, not the greatest AEW show, but I'm not saying it's the worst. And on that lovely note, let's get to that 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
All right, so the 3 count is going to be Raw and SmackDown, basically main roster first. Just some quick hits on SmackDown from last Friday night. Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair basically come out and reestablish the fact that they're going to have a match at SummerSlam for the title, but then once Zelina Vega comes out and says, hey, you made a match with me, we're going to have a match too for the title as well. So Bianca once again says, hey, no problem, I'll wrestle you tonight for the title, I'll wrestle Sasha at SummerSlam for the title. I love the fact that Bianca just didn't even blink, let's just line them up, I'll knock them all down kind of deal. Problem with this is that they announced that it was going to be a title match. It came up as a graphic for the title match, and then about an hour later, it comes off as a title contenders match, number 1 contenders match, whichever the case may be. Okay. I'll just say this right now because I'm thinking about it and I'm kind of on a roll. I don't like the way they're doing this title contenders match. It should be 2 people that aren't the champion wrestling. The winner gets the champion. If the champion loses, okay, I get it. It's the way that New Japan does their business as well on things like this. Champion loses, this sets up a title match. They being New Japan keeps their champions stronger more times than not. You don't have their champions losing random matches on a humbug unless it's about to set up the next title match. Champs lose in WWE all the time, and some things come out of it, some things don't come out of it. So for me, I don't like the fact that, obviously, which just spoiler alert, Bianca beats Zelina Vega at the match towards the end of the show or whatever the case may be. But this was a scenario where I think you can keep the champ strong, have 2 contenders wrestle each other, and then that contender faces a strong champion, and then you have that match. That, to me, would be work better for the WWE, but neither here nor there. Dom and Jey Uso have a match. Dom not listening to Dad. This sounds like a classic, father-son, hey, Dad, I got this kind of deal. Dom loses to Jey Uso, losing a little momentum in Ray's mind going into their tag team title match at SummerSlam, but there's plenty of it's not plenty of weeks. It's next week is SummerSlam. So we'll see tonight if Dom and Ray can get some of that momentum back. Edge came out, cuts another great promo. Seth Rollins comes in and interrupts via satellite. They set their match up for SummerSlam. First time ever, which is kind of crazy to me for me to even think about, but it is the first time ever that these two will get in the ring, so that should be a really interesting match. Speaking of devaluing the champions and the title itself, you had Shinsuke Nakamura versus Apollo Crews here next. Now, obviously, Nakamura has a win over Apollo Crews. I just thought that the natural progression is they would just not even go along this line and just announce the Intercontinental title match for SummerSlam. However, they decided to have a one-on-one match where Commander Aziz gets Apollo Crews disqualified. So now you had Nakamura and Rick Boogs get that work from Commander Aziz to set up, hopefully now, which will be a announced Intercontinental title match at SummerSlam. I don't even care about this, to be perfectly honest. I wanted to see Apollo Crews do well. I think they've done Apollo and Big E one time too many. King Nakamura does very little for me, honestly. So this is just a match, a feud that I have very little interest in. I think they missed the boat with Nakamura at some point. You know, he should have been at least the WWE champion for a hot minute, where him and AJ were fighting over the title a few WrestleManias back. But now I think that boat has sailed. To me, he's more of a mid-card guy, and basically that's where he is going to stand until they figure something else out. Who is next? Paul Heyman comes out next in a backstage promo. Big E, at the end of this promo, basically comes out and kind of dances with the Money in the Bank. I like the fact that Big E is now starting to be teased as a potential cash-in opponent. It's just a matter of when and where. Big E said he was going to have fun with this, so I think this is just going to be the scenario where he just teases the shit out of Paul and Roman Reigns until the actual cash-in happens. Once again, speaking of devaluing a champion, Tegan Nox defeats Tamina. I know this is tag team, but for me, this is no reason to even have this match. Or if you're going to try to build up Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart, have them beat up local jobbers or beat up a makeshift tag team that you can put together the night of. Tamina shouldn't even be on TV until Natty's ready to come back, and then you can continue this, but what do I really know? Finn Balor basically coming out in a backstage vignette. He and John Cena got a little beef, so I would like to see Finn come out at some point tonight and either call out John Cena or interrupt his promo. I mean, this is basically the go-home show for well, no, it's not. I take that back. We have 2 weeks now. Today is the 14th, the 20th. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's right. So this is 2 weeks. It's not the go-home show, but it should still be a scenario where Finn Balor's got John Cena's name in his mouth. John Cena's probably going to have to be out here on SmackDown for Friday night. I would like to see those two cross paths. Street Profits versus Rude and Dolph Ziggler. Street Profits win. There's not much really to say here. The tag team division is not that great, obviously, on SmackDown. Outside of Alpha Academy, I can't think of any other tag teams. I'm sure everybody's yelling at me, you know, this tag team. You know, sorry, I'm not thinking of those tag teams because realistically, the four teams that even really matter are the Usos, Street Profits, Mysterios, and unfortunately, Dolph and Bobby Roode. Alpha Academy, there's your fifth team. I won't say that they matter to me because I haven't seen them beat the Street Profits yet in the tag team match. When they do that, then we can talk. Bianca and Zelina was the next up. Obviously, I spoiled that. Bianca Belair wins. So that kind of says to me now with Zelina Vega, now what? You know, I get why they did it, but I guess that's part of the reason why I don't like the champion facing the challenger in this champion contenders match, because now in a non-title match, the champion wins. So now what's next for Selena Vega? My spoiler alert, probably not that much, because I'm not holding my breath for Selena Vega to do anything on WWE main roster. And then the main event was Finn Corbin. That's the way I wrote it, Finn Corbin. Finn Balor versus Baron Corbin. I love the fact that Baron Corbin has gone on this spiral. I'm just not a huge fan of the Baron Corbin character, but to be perfectly frank, this is my favorite Baron Corbin character, just because his character has been going through so much shit. Everything that bad that could happen to him is happening to him. So for me personally, I'm an evil little motherfucker at some point. I like the fact that he is suffering. I'm not saying that he's a bad wrestler. I just don't like any of his gimmicks. The Lone Wolf gimmick, I take that back. The Lone Wolf gimmick, I like. King Corbin was, okay, probably just went too long. The Constable Corbin, it is what it is. It could have been better. It was just, he's so annoying, so he's a good heel in that scenario. But I don't like any of his gimmicks. I guess that's the best way to go about this. Finn Balor comes out, lays waste to Baron Corbin, and wins. So like I said, I would expect Finn and John Cena to cross paths tonight on SmackDown. Let's jump to Raw real quick. The Return of the Viper opens Raw. So you had Randy Orton come out to a monster pop. That's kind of weird to see Randy Orton come out to a monster pop. It almost seemed like he enjoyed it, which was even weirder. Riddle obviously comes out afterwards, like big brother, little brother scenario. They end up having a promo with AJ and Omos. AJ run around yelling "no cap" to me is absolutely Comedy Central. This sets up, if I'm not mistaken, Randy versus AJ later on, which ends up being the main event. I didn't understand why it was the main event until it became the main event. We'll get to that in a second. Baron Corbin jumping over from SmackDown. I guess this is the best way to use the wild card rule, whatever the word they used, to explain the fact that Baron Corbin was on Monday Night Raw. Baron Corbin, obviously, we just talked about it. Out on his luck, he needed a little money. Jinder slid him an envelope to face Drew McIntyre. Obviously, Drew McIntyre beats Baron Corbin in a decent match. Nothing great. Like I said, the match itself I thought was decent, and the reason is that Baron Corbin can't wrestle. Well, all bullshit aside, like I said, I'm not a fan of the gimmick, but I can't knock the fact that he can go in the ring, and his finisher is one of the more protected finishers in WWE. Post-match, you had Jinder and his jabronis come out with no weapons whatsoever, where Drew had, I believe Angela is the Sword's name, in hand, ready to wreak havoc. I know I said I wanted Drew to step away from the title picture, but I didn't want Drew to step away from the title picture into a just silly feud with Jinder Mahal. This does nothing to make me look at Jinder any differently than I did before. I think they gave him the title back in the day because of their connections to India, and they wanted to get the foothold into India. Now this is the Jinder Mahal that I expected to see, and I expect to see moving forward. Kieran Cross versus Jeff Hardy Part 2. Long overdue, obviously, because Jeff Hardy was out with COVID. Jeff Hardy loses again, but does try to put his feet on the ropes. I shouldn't say Jeff Hardy loses again. Jeff Hardy loses, as probably said again, because that's Freudian slip. He should have lost the first time, but he put his feet on the ropes again, trying to pull a little fuckery. This time it doesn't work. Kieran Cross comes out of that and then puts Jeff Hardy to sleep to win the match, and then a post-match attack on top of it. Okay, so I was having a debate with somebody that was saying that this makes Kieran Cross look like a badass. In my humble opinion, it really fucking doesn't. This is 50-50 booking at best, currently. Number one. Number two, I don't care if this is your developmental champion or not. He shouldn't be losing his debut match on Raw to Jeff Hardy. I know there's Jeff Hardy fans out there. God bless y'all for it. But Jeff Hardy is in a position to put other guys over. Why they did not have Jeff Hardy put over Kieran Cross at this point, I don't understand. Everybody's, argument for that is, or this brings out Scarlett. That's how they bring Scarlett into the mix. They shouldn't have separated these two to begin with. This is a package deal, okay? I understand that this is part of the angle, but just because it's part of the angle doesn't make the angle right. Why to separate them? They are a package deal. When Kieran Cross comes out by himself, it doesn't even look right. So now, and this is my rant for the week. This is why people aren't really as excited as they should be as they were before Cross lost to Jeff Hardy. When Cross and Samoa Joe crossed paths, the thought of that, gave me a little wiggle in my pants down there. There's my little Zach tribute for the back half of the podcast. When you have when you have Cross lose to Jeff Hardy, that kind of takes things away, because now you look at Joe, or you look at Cross differently, because he lost to somebody he has no shit business losing to. So then you move him back to Tuesday night, it's just kind of like, you lost some of that steam. I don't think there's a good enough reason for them to go down this angle just to introduce Scarlett. You don't have to introduce Scarlett. You act like half of the 1.2 million viewers, let's just say 1 million viewers. I know that's low, but it's a nice round number. You act like half of those viewers, 500,000, aren't watching NXT. I hate the fact that they insult our intelligence and act like one thing, this person is a totally different person in the main roster universe than they are in the NXT universe. It's the same motherfucker with the same goddamn belt on. So let's just fucking get this shit right and just be done with it. See, I can do it all. I'll do my own drops and fucking talk shit. Next up, you had, speaking of which, Bliss versus Piper Niven. No, I'm not calling her Dewdrop. Fuck all that. I'm calling her Piper goddamn Niven, and this is the reason why I'm calling her Piper goddamn Niven, because she lost fucking to Alexa Bliss. Okay, there's no reason in the world for this, and this is more so of a reason why I was hesitant to have Eva Marie next to Piper Niven to begin with. Now Piper Niven is taking pins that should be going to Eva Marie. Look, I know that Alexa Bliss is going to get her push. That just is what it is. And she better more so get her push, because fans are going to chant, "We want Wyatt," every time we see her. I wouldn't do it, but obviously the fans on Monday night did it. And now you've gotten to the point where you've gone too far, in my opinion, with this gimmick or whatever. We're past the point of no return. I won't say we've gone too far. I messed up my metaphors on this one. You've got to put something behind Alexa Bliss. Now, the fact that she beat Piper on Monday night with the distraction finish of Lily, for fucking Christ's sake, just does not work for me. A, I don't like distraction finishes. WWE works them way too much. And B, come on, man. Come on. We're going to have Piper Niven lose to Alexa Bliss like that in a schoolgirl? And, I mean, the physics of the whole thing blows my mind. There is not enough. I mean, I know it was a deep stack. I get that. But, I mean, Alexa just does not weigh enough to keep Piper Niven on her back for a 3 count. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I will stand by the fact that Eva Marie is doing no good for Piper Niven. The exposure is gone now at this point. We know who Piper Niven is. Now, if you're going to do something with her, then let's start getting down to it. Otherwise, I will not relent from the fact that Piper Niven has gone nowhere but to be wasted on the main roster at this point. She is Eva Marie's sidekick, and that shouldn't be the case. She should be destroying Eva Marie, and she should have just laid waste to Alexa Bliss. But with the opponent picked for Piper Niven on that, I guess that's the reason why we didn't get that. Neither here nor there. Ricochet versus Sheamus was the next matchup. Once again, Ricochet, God bless this guy. If he was somewhere else, and I'm not even going to say AEW, you could say Impact or If he went back to New Japan, I think he would be amazing there. But unfortunately, this is not going to be the case. He loses to Sheamus. And then Damian Priest comes out to basically throw his hat in the ring. So Damian Priest challenges Sheamus for the United States Championship at WrestleMania, at SummerSlam. At first, Sheamus does not accept, but reluctantly, after being embarrassed by one Damian Priest, Sheamus does accept the match at SummerSlam. So now we have a U.S. title match going there. John Morrison and Damian Priest had the match. Once again, decent match. Nothing here nor there. Another repeat. It's not like we haven't seen this before. T-Bar versus Ali. Decent. Mansoor makes the save after Ali loses. MVP and Lashley come out and cut their promo. God bless MVP. I just wish that Cedric and Shelton Benjamin would have still been by their side. There would be no reason to have them split up, but I don't get that shit. Rhea Ripley and Nikki A.S., whatever. Charlotte comes out, destroys Nikki, caused the DQ, and then AJ and Randy, it was the main event on Monday Night Raw. I'd be lying if I saw this one coming. I thought they were going to have the Rated RK Bro have them face AJ and Almost for the tag team titles, and then the swerve that I've been waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks finally happens. The RKO, not heard around the world, but I guess heard around Monday Night Raw. Orton turns on Matt Riddle, so I would assume this match is a matter of time. Riddle versus Orton at SummerSlam. I kind of enjoyed their little partnership for the few weeks, but ultimately I think this is where this was going to end up lying. Orton has a chance to give a little rub to Matt Riddle. I'm not sure if Riddle beats Randy Orton or not. I just think ultimately it would just depend on if Lashley retains. You could have Riddle versus Lashley if you wanted to go that route. That could be a blast to the past of their U.S. title feud or whatever. But it is Randy Orton. It would be hard for me to see this, but we did see Keith Lee beat Randy Orton, so weirder things happen. That's it for our 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
All right, we're going to do some quick odds and ends. Speaking of Keith Lee, I know that Two Beer wanted to talk about Keith Lee. Keith Lee finally comes out and tells a little bit of his side of the story, where he has been and why he hadn't seen him on TV. Keith Lee did have COVID. He confirmed that, but then he had some lingering health issues from that afterwards as well. So he couldn't work out. So when we saw him, I guess last week, it was last week when he beat Kieran Cross, he looked a little heavier. And that's part of the reason why he did look a little heavier, is because he couldn't work out the way that he wanted to. And I thought that was really interesting, the fact that I wish WWE would have just said this and just been transparent about this, because, when you had Keith Lee beat the aforementioned Randy Orton, that to me was like, oh shit, this signals that, they're going to take Keith Lee seriously, they're going to give him a little bit of a push. And then, you heard all kinds of weird, I guess, rumors come out. They're not happy with the way Keith Lee works. He doesn't work big enough. And then he got hit with COVID, and then he came off TV. A lot of this, at least for me, would have just been like, oh, okay, if they would have just said, hey, Keith Lee has, some sort of lingering issues from him having COVID or whatever the case may be. I'm not even sure if they said he had COVID or not. I can't remember off the top of my head. My knee-jerk reaction is to say that they did not. So for me, it was just the lack of transparency that really hurt Keith Lee. when all you really had to do was just say, hey, this is what the deal is, and let us just, empathize with Keith Lee. So for me, big shout out to Keith Lee. Hopefully he gets back on track and gets his in-ring career back online. The other thing I wanted to talk about was Bray Wyatt. Obviously, Bray Wyatt was released from the WWE a few weeks ago, but now he has kind of resurfaced, and in his first tweet after his post-WWE release, he had a tweet basically looking like the picture of his mask and saying that, you can't kill him. Interesting tweet. It doesn't really reveal that much, but it definitely says to me that I don't think he's done in wrestling per se. When and where he pops his head back up, I guess only time will tell. But I guess the most important thing to me is that he's not done with wrestling. I have said on multiple times, and I know I'm pretty sure I said it yesterday when Bill was talking about getting away from Twitter and just having, a queer head before our niece arrives here. The mental health is a big thing, and I haven't lost any of my best friends yet, so I'm not sure how that will affect me. I lost my parents, and I know that was a major blow to me, especially when my mom passed. So if this is the time where Bray can take away and get his head right, get his creative juices flowing and come back wherever he comes back. Once again, I know AEW is the place where everybody wants him to come back, but quiet as it's kept, as crazy as Impact is with their supernatural shit, and I'm getting ready to watch last night's Impact here in a little bit, I wouldn't be surprised to see him pop up on Impact. That would make a pretty good fit if you asked me. But that being said, I'm glad to see Bray Wyatt back. At least it feels like he's back. I guess better choice of words. Where he goes, it's probably going to be AEW. It just makes sense. But for me, like I said, Impact would be another great place for him to drop, because it's not like it's ROH or anything. It's not like you wouldn't see him, week to week. I think if he goes to Impact, Impact has shown that they have taken refugees from the WWE, such as Deonna Purrazzo, and turned them into top stars of their brand. Speaking of Deonna Purrazzo, they'll be here for, I shouldn't say they should be here. NWA 73 is coming up at the end of the month. Their all-women's show, Empower, August 27th. The last time I checked, there were still tickets available for that. Is that the 27th? Yeah. Yeah, because 29th, that's that Sunday. 27th is Empower, and then the 28th, the Sunday show is no, it's the 29th. I'm sorry. 28th is Empower. 29th is the Sunday show, NWA 73. That is sold out, which is a good thing. I like to see the fact that the Lou has went on ahead and sold out the 73rd NWA show here. I think that's a big fucking thing. Like I said, in previous pods beforehand, I like the fact that given the chance, St. Louis can represent and can sell things out. When Full Gear gets here in November, knock on wood, I think we'll sell that bad boy out too. But I believe tickets are available for the NWA Empower show. Deonna Purrazzo versus Melina is going to be on that card for the Impact title. And then you would have, obviously, Camille and Layla Hirsch for the NWA championship. I think that's going to be an amazing show. You'll have a bunch of amazing talent there. They'll have a battle royal, and then I believe it's a tournament, and then the winner of that tournament is the next in line for Camille. So you will have storyline progression and all that other good stuff. So if you live locally, let's support the NWA. I mean, 73 years of them being in business. They did a lot of those years here in the Lou. So yes, if you get a chance, get the tickets for NWA Power. Like I said, I still think there's some tickets left. If you gotten tickets for either or both, thank you very much for supporting the NWA, putting the Lou back where it should be at the top of the list with the other names of cities that do great things for the state of professional wrestling.
This is Banned from Ringside.
All right, I think that's going to cover it. I can't think of anything else that I need to think of off the top of my head. Big weekend of wrestling. Resurgence this weekend for New Japan Triple Mania. Like I said, tonight, not Dynamite, but Rampage and what is that? It's Friday Night SmackDown. What is that? See, this is the crazy part about it, man. I love the fact that AEW is coming with Rampage, but they have just thrown another wrench into my week of wrestling because now I got to figure out how the fuck I'm going to watch everything on Friday nights because Friday nights was easy. I would come home, watch SmackDown, but now Rampage is here. So it looks like my whole week is just going to be dedicated to wrestling, like yours should be as well. Listen up, everybody. I know there's a shit ton of podcasts, so we appreciate you listening to ours. For my tag team cats, the tag team champions, Billy and Lucifer. For Murray the Murray Man Murray. For Bo, thanks Vice for the AKA. For Aaron Veggie, good luck, Aaron, the rest of the way. I hope you have this baby sooner than later. For Papa Veggie, hold her hand the rest of the way, Bill. I'm proud of you, my brother. For Two Beer Zach Pullman in Portland, I'm your special guest host, Jason Cornelius Bill, and everybody, remember, always boo the heels. Boo, bitch.